How's it going, everyone, including the YouTubers and anybody off YouTube or normally off YouTube, whatever. Um, Giving an update on the fish diet. It's like day 16 or something. At this point, might as well just call it a ketogenic diet because I'm more concerned about the ketones. But the reason I like to post updates because it's like, it's just like, well, what's going on here? And how do I feel from day to day? It's like, well, how do things change, and stuff like that. Because I don't know why. For once, in a way, it's like it's not that I wasn't normal, but for whatever reason, for for once in a while, it kind of feels like I feel kind of normal again, compared to old days. I don't know why. How to explain what that means? It's more of a feeling. Uh, so yeah, this diet thing is interesting. I'm only I know I hate talking about diets or whatever, but um, I on one hand I'm kind of getting tired of it, but on the other hand I'm I'm kind of looking at it more in a more religious way, in the sense that now it's just like you just do it because it's part of what you set out to do, what I've set out to do, regardless of like whether it feels pleasing or not. It's because basically the feeling is like, as long as it gives me what I need every day, that's what matters. So for example, today, it kind of feels a little weird. It's like, it feels a little weird. It's like, oh shoot, here we go again, kind of thing, right? But it's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to, it's like the whole, do you want to feel pleasure, or do you just want to, or do you want to continue on with this, making with the benefits and stuff like that, and trying to make it work for you? Because like at the end of the day, my goal, remember, is metabolic flexibility that will allow me to do the thinking every day, properly. And now I'm starting to, like I said, it's starting to translate into feeling normal, in a weird way. But this is all this to say that basically, it's basically a ketogenic diet at this point. And it's been, greatly beneficial. And I just like to talk about it a little bit, because it's like, well, it's interesting to see like what you've said before and how things kind of stack up. So I'm basically trying to get to a point where I'm, before having carbs again, where I start to see a ketone reading of about 3. Because a lot of people, and I understand that a lot of people are fatter than me, and therefore they're going to get into ketosis easier. But that doesn't take away from the fact that your mitochondria aren't working the right way as it should, right? Or doesn't mean that your mitochondria shouldn't work any better than somebody who's fat. It doesn't make any sense. So that's been my goal, and I just keep eating sardines and fish and pretty much any fatty meat and fatty proteins. So I pretty much don't do any lean protein anymore. I try to stay away from it because it's not part of the diet. But at the same time, I try not to go over caloric, and that's generally been the case. I think the maximum number of calories I've had in a day is 2,200, which is interesting because my calories have actually increased, and I have a theory for that. And I think part of the reason why I was doing low calories in the beginning, and I'm not getting fat, but it's just translating into greater ketones. I think the reason why I was doing lower calories at first is because of cravings, basically cravings. So and the energy use. So like my theory is that your cravings are related a lot are largely related to kind of like what your body's trying to get. So, for example, with the carbs, if you're carb adapted and you're just like, oh, I really need this carbs, or you have the strong craving for sugary stuff or whatever. And then if you're more fat adapted, you're probably going to crave more fatty options, and that might be in weird ways. So that didn't happen for me for the longest time, and so now it's kind of happening. But cravings for fat are weird. Is the weirdest thing ever, because you'll be satiated, but when you crave it, it's almost like you want to get a ton at once. So for example, and fatty foods, it's like, my other theory is that most likely, even if you could translate the fat into energy, your options are very small. So therefore, you're like not really gonna crave. It's really hard to crave fatty stuff, in my opinion. And I know it's weird to say that, because like you can crave bacon, or you can crave some other thing like that. But most likely, if you're gonna crave a fatty food, it's gonna have carbs with it, And so if you crave something fatty, if you start craving something fatty, like in actuality, like let's say a fatty fish, or some like pancetta, macadamia nuts, for example, because I had that craving, dark chocolate. Like if you just have this urge to just go crazy at it, I think that obviously it's because your body wants that energy source, because it found a way to extract it better, because you can get better ketosis. But also, I think that the craving, like, if you were to how to say this, I forgot what I was gonna say, but the craving, if you didn't want that craving, if you wanted it to go away, you basically, like, you have to trick your brain into thinking that it's satisfied in a way. Like, for example, if you have a craving for, if I have it's weird, because when I have a craving for sardines now, once I have that one can of sardines, or maybe 2 cans, once I have that meal, I'm done. There's no more craving. And then, however, I could probably do the same thing with other fatty foods like macadamia, and it'll take a long time before that craving will go away. Like, and then it won't come back. So for example, let's say if I decide, it won't come back, I guess, unreasonably. Like, for example, if I have a can of sardines, or 2 cans of sardines at once, I may not crave it for another week, but I'm still eating, or maybe another 2 days, but I'm still going to eat it the next day, because in general, I just want to eat something, and I know I have to eat that thing, right? However, the same cannot be said for something like macadamia nuts or dark chocolate, which has nothing to do with carbs. Because, for example, let's say if you get the lilies, you're having pretty much close to 1 gram of net carb, maybe. It's like almost nothing. Same thing with macadamia nuts. So the craving for that is weird, because even though it's not the same as sardines, and so when it's basically like you're walking up the line. Like, once you start getting into high carb meals, then it starts to become the opposite. What I mean by that is, for macadamia nuts, for example, I can have, with this approach, I can have, being keto with zero carb, just to basically zero carbs, I can have a handful and be satisfied for that one day, still have the craving and say, I want to have it 6 hours later, right? Same thing with dark chocolate. I can say I'll have a little bit, like 2 squares, and then have another craving 6 hours later. For sardines, it's almost like an index. For sardines, it's like you have 1 can, but then after that craving's gone, it takes 2 days before you get it back. Now, you take these concepts, you apply it to high carb meals. Let's say an ice cream, for example, like with, I don't know, or some candy. you might satisfy yourself for 5 minutes, but then you're gonna crave it less than an hour later. Or chips, for example, you're gonna crave it in the next 30 minutes. And so the more carbs you have that's associated with that food, the more often you're gonna crave it, and therefore the more tendency you're gonna have to overeat it. But here's also the other interesting thing is that don't tell anybody. Now, if you're watching this, I understand, but I'm sort of anorexic in the sense that I do something called chew and spit sometimes. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, dude, I don't respect you anymore. But what I do sometimes, and I think this is related, is if I feel like my craving is so strong at that moment that I'm feeling like I'm eating too much, I'm like, dude, you're eating too much, man. It's just so hard to just block yourself because sometimes and just move on, because the kind of food you're having just forces you to keep eating. And so I'm just like, dude, I've had so much right now. Why am I keep eating? I'll have the whole thing and then I'll spit it out because I'm like, you had enough. Why are you craving this? You had enough. Spit the fucking food out, And so I'm not trying to stress myself out or tell people that to do this, and I don't like when I do it, but it does happen, and I think this is the perfect explanation for that. I don't claim to be anorexic, but this is just the way it is sometimes, I think. So, for example, I did that yesterday with dark chocolate. I noticed that I was having like mounds of it, and I was like, shit, man, I still have this craving. Put it in my mouth, spit it out, put it in my mouth. I ended up chewing and spitting a whole bar, and like 2 bar. But then after that, guess what? I don't want to put that in my mouth for another, I don't know how long. I have no more craving for dark chocolate for I don't know how long now. Same thing goes for macadamia nuts. I chewed and spit that out about 3 days ago because I didn't have a strong craving, but it was large enough because I wasn't filling myself up with the other foods. So it was like late at night and nothing was open. We were in Oregon. And so I just started to chew it. And then I noticed, I was like, why do I have this like strong craving to eat, keep eating? And so I was like chewing it, I'm like, and I was spitting it. So I ended up doing that with the whole bag. And obviously that's like 1,800 calories. If that was in me right now, I'd be heavier. But did I need to eat that whole thing? No, it was just my brain was just on fire trying to crave it. And so when you're stuck in these situations, it makes me think, like, what are you supposed to do? One thing that does help me though is if I start eating higher fiber foods like vegetables or whatever, then I start eating vegetables. Then cruciferous vegetables, I put something like that, like something filling, like it's just a filler, but it's almost 0 calories, high fiber. I put that in my mouth, I eat it. That tends to help with that, like the need to put something in your mouth. Also, gum can also help, mastic gum. Although I don't really. And then also drinking sparkling water can also help, but like sometimes it won't do the trick, and it's just like, what are you supposed to do? And some people would say, well, just eat it, but like you really gotta tell yourself, like, why are you eating it? Like if your mind is saying one thing, and if it's not good, if it's just too much at that moment, you otherwise you feel full. It's like, I've gotten what I needed. You've gotten what you needed. You feel energetic and everything. What's the point in eating beyond that? Because sometimes, like, if you can identify whether you're eating for nutrition or just a dopamine hit, then it's like you might as well just spit out your food if it's a dopamine hit. And sometimes you just can't get that thing out of your head. Now, what people are doing nowadays to try to overcome that, which in theory is actually doing that, but it's actually causing people to undereat and avoid eating for nutritional content is they're using terzepatide and all these other things like GLPs and stuff, which I'm generally against, unless you're that crazy about losing weight. And well, even then, I would say, even then, if you focus on keto, you could fast for a long time, and it'll have the same effect. It makes no difference, and who knows what the side effects are. So I'm generally against it. But like not everybody's gonna do keto, and that's the thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, what are you supposed to do? There's no drug that can separate those two types of hunger, dopamine hunger and the nutritional one. So you just have to do what you got to do. I mean, for most people, I would say that I think there's a practice to this. I mean, I think a health expert would basically tell me, just eat, even though it's dopamine hunger, just eat it, because the other thing might be more detrimental to chew and spit. But let's just say, hypothetically, just the general population, why people wouldn't chew and spit. Well, I think it's because they're eating just by default, because of the amount of calories and how much is packed in one single type of food, because it's not a whole food. Generally speaking, you have the two different types of hungers always mixed together that are being satisfied: the dopamine hunger and the nutritional, but mostly the dopamine. So that usually gets coupled, and it gets taken care of at once. And so then eventually both of them get taken care of, and then people end up getting fat. And well, it gets taken care of temporarily, obviously, and then they go back to eating again very soon after or whatever, and then the cycle happens. So basically, people eat for dopamine hunger and nutritional hunger, basically, for nutritional needs, and they're always doing that. They never decouple the two. And the great thing about whole foods in this approach, especially keto, is you can decouple the two. The only problem is, and so if you're keto, you're minimizing the dopamine hunger. You're just minimizing it. And if you're doing the sardine fast, if all you're having is fish, literally all you're having is sardines, then that variable of dopamine hunger just gets kaput completely, 100%. So I realized that, yeah, maybe I should just be eating sardines exclusively, because, like I said, that effect is completely eliminated. But if you're keto, you've done 99% of it anyway. So I mean, when I was having carbs, I was doing chew and spit a lot more. But I'm just saying that this is how the fish diet has gone for me. And there's not really a lot of chew and spit. It's just like, it was just those 2 times, and in the last 15 days, which is good, But yeah, I just wanted to comment about that in terms of cravings, because I think over time, for some reason, when your body can, and so I might start craving more fatty foods at random times, like, oh, I want this thing or I want that thing. I never thought about that. Like, I just started thinking about having basil again. Basil, like making something with basil, which has olive oil in it and stuff, with the mushroom pizza or something, some kind of keto pizza that has no carbs. And who knows, that craving might come to me. Like, I just kind of had the seed of craving for it. And so I might be seeing that soon, but I don't think so. So far, after doing the chew and spit with the dark chocolate yesterday, I don't feel like I'm still fasting. I don't feel like putting I don't even feel like eating for another 2 days or something. I mean, I might just fast for 2 days, but yeah, so far. And so now let me comment about the ketones, right? So my goal is to get up to 3. So far, my maximum has been 1.6 before breaking a fast, and obviously when I say break a fast, I'm literally doing intermittent fasting where I'll go a long period without eating my first meal, but I haven't for the last 15 days. I haven't actually fasted a single day where I don't eat food at all. Maybe today might be different. But that's interesting because normally, like I said, when I saw that 1.6 reading, I said, I haven't seen this since I've done it might have been a 4 or 5 day fast. I don't even remember. It's been months since I've seen that reading. When I saw that reading, I was very impressed. I was like, okay, I'm headed in the right direction. But it's a struggle. I mean, this morning I took, and then thereafter, I was taking my reading in the morning. I was getting a zero point 0.5 reading. The exception was today and I think yesterday. I woke up and I saw a 0.3 reading and I thought, God, this is ridiculous. Why? Like, I'm doing everything right. I'm eating fatty foods and stuff. Things should be going in the right direction. But let me tell you something. The thing is, sure, okay, maybe my goal is 3. So I think maybe, but when I saw the 0.3, I was like, okay, well, don't give up. Like, maybe that's not it. Right now it's 9:56 a.m. So I took my ketones about 30 minutes ago, and so when I'm seeing 0.3, now I'm like, I think yesterday I saw it for the first time in a while, and I was like, what do? I'm like, dude, just take MCT oil, a teaspoon. All you need is a teaspoon of MCT oil. I have a new theory about that because I think that for the longest time doing low fat, I think one of the things that would have really helped is if I were to find a way to mobilize my fat without having to work out. I think that and that would have been as simple as taking MCT oil. Like, imagine if I just took a teaspoon of MCT oil, because that's still only 40 calories. And so I did that this morning, and so I went about my day for about 2 hours, and then my ketones went up to 0.6. So I'm in ketosis right now, and it might be higher, but that was 30 minutes ago. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm starting to like feel the mental stimulation and the need, less of a need to fill my stomach. Like, it just feels like putting something in my stomach is one of the last things I want to do. But it's all relative, right? So that feeling of not wanting to eat is stronger than it was when I first woke up or whatever, or just like even last night. Because I still had to limit my calories. I still had to get up to, I think I was at 2,000 calories before the end of the day. I still had to be like, just stop, man. No more. Like, you've eaten enough. If you eat more, it's just like you're just overdoing it. Now, it's obviously way worse when it comes to carbs. Like, a lot of times that feeling of, oh, I can't stop, or having like a clear, simple mindedness is harder. It's like you're kind of more, you kind of have that whisper of food still in your mind, even though you've just eaten some yogurt or some with fruit or whatever. And I mean, a lot of times I end up doing that. I'll have more fruit. It's like, okay, let me just get more fruit. Let me get more fruit. Let me get more fruit. And so I go back, get more fruit, go back, get more fruit. And it ends up adding, I'm talking about before 15 days ago, ends up adding to about 2 to 250 grams of carbs, which fuels my day, of course, and so that craving's there because it helps me to go about my day. But that's a lot of fruit. It's a lot of fruit. And so it kind of screws up your mitochondria, I think, over time. But anyway. So yeah, I mean, I'm at about 0.6, and I have the feeling of fasting, but obviously that's just because you're mobilizing fat, and once the current fat that you have is gone, you probably feel like I'll probably start to feel weak again, and I don't know. I got to figure out what to do about that next, but I'm probably gonna start to feel hungry in about 6 hours. But at least for the next 5 hours, I literally do not. At least 4 hours. I don't feel like I need anything to eat. It's kind of interesting, and this happens quite often. Almost every single day, and that's probably why I intermittent fast. But this feeling is very strong compared to what it was before, because I would really have to push through those intermittent fasting times when I was carb dependent. So yeah, I just figured I would say that, and I think that like there comes a point now where it's like but I'll take that back. When it's like 2 p.m. or something, it's like it's this question of do you want to eat or not? Because you feel kind of weak, but you're not really hungry. I'm not really hungry, and so I'm like, now I might push through because here's the deal. I don't think I'm gonna lose muscle if I push it 2 or 3 days, and also I believe that if I push it to tomorrow or the next day, I'll definitely see a 3.4 ketones, at least 2.5. So if I can go in that direction, that means I'm hitting my goals faster. And it's like, well, why would you want to make this faster? Well, it is what it is. Maybe, I don't know. I guess my goals don't really have to be there that fast, but it would be nice if I could see that I'm at 3 and then start to have a little bit of carbs again. Like, I don't have to go crazy. I could just have a cup of blueberries a day or something, and then call that 25, 30 grams of carbs or whatever. I think it's 25 grams, but or just let myself have 50 grams of carbs every day, or maybe on the weekends do that or something. And just like, it doesn't, it would just be nice if I can let myself have a little bit of carbs again. Just because I feel like I'm there now, but it just a little bit of a push is required, because to see that number lets me know that I'm kind of like there again, like with my metabolic flexibility. I will say this much. There's different criteria for this, which is that I want to see 3, but I also want to see that my ability to get into ketosis is happens more frequently. So once I see 3, I would say before having carbs again, I need to test it for about another week, maybe 4 days, 3 days. Maybe that's all it's going to take to see that, I'm getting up to a value of like 1.1 without MCT around 10 a.m. or something, and then if I keep pushing it, I get a value of 2.2 by the time it's 2 p.m. I need to see that consistency. It doesn't have to be 3, but I need to see that consistency for about 3 or 4 days, and then then I know my mitochondria is working well. But right now, it's kind of like it's a gray area. We don't know. But yeah, thanks for watching.